All right, we're going to start off today by talking about the newest version of Terminal that we're going to be making available to you. Terminal, of course, is our application that gives us the insight to our open RO list, showing all those open ROs in the table here. We do have a ton of fields, over 50 I think fields that we have available now that we can add into the application for viewing your different views, making this really robust usage out of what we get out of Terminal. It's designed with the idea of operating like an airport terminal, right? You walk up to your board, you get to see what flight or gate your flight's at, if it's on time, yada, yada, yada. Same concept, but we're doing it with our open ROs. So as you can see here, I've got, a bunch of ROs here in what I'm calling my standard view. I've customized this view to have my RO, some basic and vehicle information, and then other data that I might find, useful or handy. Terminal is a part of your standard installation for Summit, so you probably have it already in its current release, but this one will be made available shortly after this webinar. Assuming we've used Terminal before, as we can see, we have some flashpoints in here where we have critical items that require our attention. In this case, it's our scheduled out dates, and that's because our scheduled out dates have passed in this instance. So we can see how that creates a sense of priority in our list, because we can see, oh, these jobs are past due, or if the job is due out today, that will give us an actual green flashing icon on our grid here. Now, we're going to talk about some of the new stuff that we've added to Terminal, namely a lot of fields. So one of the big things we've added into Terminal is our technician assignments. Previously, Terminal only had our body, refinish, and I think frame and mechanical labor assignments in there, and was missing glass detail and all the rest of that, which those are now all included in here. So you can see we have those fields available both in the technician assignments and in the hours now. So we've expanded that to include all of our labor types. So you can customize that as need be. The other thing we did with our tech assignments is we also added the fields in for department assignments. So if you're one of those shops that is assigning your technicians by department, that is now supported with Terminal as well, where we can see technician for each department that we have available. Another field we added into here is severity. Severity was not previously in the application, so we can see that right here. Severity is our total less tax. Total includes our tax total. Really the only difference between those two fields there. With that though, you'll notice that we also have totals now at the bottom of Terminal that we can now see what we're looking at. So in this case, I have all my total hours, flagged hours, clocked hours, sales total, severity. Average severity is what this one will be. It's not our total severity, right? Because that's usually the metric we're after. But we'll have those totals down at the bottom anywhere that it makes sense to have a total. So any of those hour fields, dollar amounts, so on and so forth. Other new fields we added, unflagged hours and unclocked hours. So previously we had the flagged hours and clocked hours, which of course would be any of the hours that were flagged to the job, and then unclocked or clocked hours, which are anything in our I'm blanking here. And in your time clock, there we go. So I'm just going to move these right up in here, see how easy it is to move our headers around in the application. So we're going to look at here, see how many hours we have total, how many are flagged, and then this would show us how many are remaining. So it's kind of a way to gauge how much work is still left on the job without having to do the math of taking our flagged hours from our subtracted hours. Made that a little bit easier. Pretty simple stuff. So unclocked hours is actually a calculated field based on your efficiency goal that is set within the administration module of Summit. So I'm going to go ahead and log into my admin here. Goals. Yep, right here in our goals tab. So we're under the company tab and administration sub-tab goals. And right here we can see that efficiency goal, right? So that's saying that we have 100% efficiency, so that's a one-to-one relationship for my labor hours to what my clocked hours are. So as a shop, if I have an efficiency goal of say 125%, that's going to now change these hours. So we can say, oh, there it goes. Just change these hours to now be less for what is still unclocked hours remaining based on that efficiency goal. So a couple of things we did do within the application here. We did add a filter on your job dates. So right now you can see I have all jobs selected up here at the top, right next to my shop name. I can filter on jobs that are today, which it goes to scheduled out today. So I can see there's only one job today. So here's my go list, as some people would use, right? For the day, if I'm doing my production meeting with my staff, I'm going to put this up on my monitor behind me, and I'm going to go today, and I'm going to go through all these jobs and say, hey, what jobs are making it out today? Is there any reason this one's going to go out, not going to go out? Yes, okay, sounds good. Let's inform Mr. Customer. Go through those steps that we need to be doing on a constant basis. The nice thing we can do here is actually change what variable we're filtering on. So maybe I don't want to do scheduled out. Maybe I want to do scheduled in. I want an arrival list. What vehicles are scheduled in today? Let me go ahead and bring up our scheduled in so that we can see how that's filtered that here. So now I have what's incoming. I can have my CSRs come in here and run this list and maybe call people if I want to remind them at the end of the day. But in that case, what I'd actually do as a CSR is I would do scheduled in, and I would do future, and I would do 1 day out, 2 days out, 3 days out, whatever I'm doing here to get some data. And then I'm going to call those people out, because what's a field in terminal? You guessed it, your customer phone number and your customer name. There it is. So I can call up Mr. John Demo and say, Mr. Demo, I just wanted to remind you that your vehicle is scheduled in on the 12th, which is tomorrow. We expect you to be here with your 2018 Toyota Corolla. Great little tool, easy way to make a list for my CSRs to have to go through. So on these filters, obviously we can do future. Future can go up to 6 months out. My personal favorite, or least favorite, depending on how you want to look at it, is past due jobs, right? Jobs that have not hit their scheduled out date, and we have to make some calls to our customers if we haven't informed them already. The other nice thing too is this creates more awareness for management, as well as somebody on the floor. If they see something that's green flashing, they know that's due out today. That creates that sense of urgency within them, because they know what that board is telling them. It's a pretty helpful tool for just general shop awareness. So the next thing I'm going to talk about here is profiles. Profiles is something we've loved adding to Terminal because it makes it even more powerful. So what's a profile, you say? So if you look up here in the top right, you'll see I have my profile switcher. Now I've set up a couple preset profiles, but a profile, I guess I should define a profile. A profile is your configuration of your terminal grid, right? So we can pick and choose what fields we want to have available, what filters we have active, and what sorts we want to have active. So I'm going to switch off my standard here and show you what I mean. So one of my filters I've set up here is on my paint department. So I've got this, let's say, for my painter over at his workstation or up on the wall, whatever. My painter is then going to be able to switch to the paint department, see what vehicles are currently in his department, when they're scheduled out. He can see his own cycle times on these vehicles, which again is creating a sense of urgency. I look at this 5 day, almost 6 days here on this Touareg right here. As a painter, I'm going to light a torch under myself to get that thing done before my manager comes down and reminds me of the importance of completing things quickly. So a very powerful tool there. And this is just a profile, so I can switch these around too. So if I've only got one workstation in my shop floor where I can display this terminal, my guys come up, they switch to the body view, or go back to standard, or maybe parts, or whatever it's going to be. This parts view, for example, another way we've seen this used in shops is we have parts guys who are watching the vehicles. One of the fields, outstanding parts. Outstanding parts are parts that are on order that have not been received. So again, you can see very different ways how this application's been used not just a production tool on your floor, but really shop-wide, however you want to implement it. So profiles give you a way just to create those views, hand those out to, distribute those amongst your workstations, and have everybody looking at the same information the way you want it to be viewed. They are very easy to set up a profile. My recommendation is you find a profile to start with, which when you're starting out will just be the first. Then you're gonna hit the ellipses, hit save, and then you're gonna rename that to whatever you want it to be, new profile. And it'll import the existing grid settings that you had selecting from the previous profile selected, but it is in fact, as we can see, its own new profile now. And then I can go in here, change this stuff up, add whatever I want, and then just save it again. Still just new profile, and then I can switch out really easily there. So like I said, Terminal will be becoming available to shops probably next week, I believe is the official date there. You can send me an email at cameron@summitcrs.com if you would like to get a copy of that, and we'll set up a time to have one of our technicians reach out to you. I did also want to mention one really neat feature, and that is the Terminal actually has a live update built into the application now. So yes, that means no more having to get in contact with Summit to have us distribute a new version of the application. Any new version of Terminal that is released will be put on the live update server and will be made available to the user as soon as it is. It'll work just the same way as our updater works in Summit currently. When they open the application, they'll be prompted. New version is available. There's a link where they can view the release notes before they download, and then they can choose to download that new version or opt out. So that concludes my section on Terminal. Like I said, so that concludes my section on Terminal. If you'd like to, please send us an email at support@summitcrs.net, and we can have one of our technicians reach out to you, usually within 24 hours, to set up this new version of Terminal with you as soon as it's made available. Okay, moving on to Scoreboard now. Scoreboard, if you haven't had any experience with it before, is kind of start over. Okay, we're going to move on to Scoreboard now. If you haven't used it before, Scoreboard keeps score of your departments and various measurables that we have available in the application. Scoreboard, as you see it right here, sets up very similar to Terminal and a lot of our other applications, where we, if we haven't set it up before, you'll be greeted with a login screen. We're going to put in the IP address of our server. Port number should be the same. Hit connect again. Check Auto Connect here. Once you're done with that, then you'll never have to see the screen again, and every time you open it, it'll come into the application. This application should be pre-configured in most Summit templates. If not, drop us an email, SummitCRS.net, or give us a call. It's the support line, and we can go ahead and assist you in getting this application set up. Shouldn't take more than 5-10 minutes tops. Okay. So, now that I'm in the application, first thing I'm going to do is just focus on our grid here. So our grid has had some changes with some new fields added into here. As we can see, we have our department listing over here on the left from start to finish. Of course, we can sort that any way we want, as with most of our applications. And of course, we can filter those down to just specific departments if we want. Let's say if I wanted to focus on just my WIP departments, right? Leave all those up there for now. Okay, so in is of course the number of vehicles in the department. If that RO is showing in that department, it's included in this count. Vehicles that are in here are what make up some of our numbers that we'll see later here in our WIP. And we'll talk about how those numbers are calculated. Check mark is the number of vehicles that were completed today. A vehicle is completed when it is moved from that department in Summit. It doesn't matter if it's the next department, just has to leave that department to trigger it being completed today. Okay. WIP is work in process hours. These hours are based on flag percentages that are set in the administration tab. So I'm just going to show these up, bring them over here so you can see what we're looking at here. Okay, so WIP we can see right here in, let's say, disassembly. I have a flag that is set for body labor for 20% of that body labor. So what that means is when I'm looking at this WIP number, that represents body labor for these 6 ROs in the department, and it's 20% of their total body labor, so 14.3 hours there. Gives you an idea how much work is sitting in that department to be done. Now obviously some of those hours are probably completed or in the process of being done, so it kind of only gives us a little bit of a view there. But again, it's based on these labor flags. Now, if you don't flag labor, that's fine. We can still set up the labor type and the distribution percentage in the administration module of Summit. I bring that up here for you. Under production, you can select the department, the labor type, and then the percentage we want to be reflected there. If you don't want to flag labor, set up auto flags, all you got to do is just make sure these guys are unchecked so they're not triggered to flag, and then these rates will still be used within the Scoreboard application, allowing you to take advantage of those measurables. Okay. So I'm going to break those down. Okay. So one of our new fields here is days in shop average for vehicles that are currently in the department. So days in shop average, which means we're taking the arrival date of that vehicle and saying how many days has it been since the arrival. We're going to do that for all the vehicles in the department, and then once we get that total, get the average by dividing it by the number of vehicles in the department. So that's where we arrive at this 8.75. You'll notice this is also a clickable field as designated by the background there. That brings us up some more information when we click on it here. So we can see, again, our days in shop average as calculated here, and then it's going to give us some information on the RO. We can get the arrival dates, verify that information. Wow, this thing's really been in here since June 3rd. Is that an oversight, or do we know what's going on there? That's what's driving up my average, because it's been here for 38 days in disassembly. Just knowing this database, this is a total loss vehicle, right? So that would explain that away. But still, it allowed us to ask the question as to why the productivity was off. Other measurables that are in here, we can see our time and department average. So of these 6 vehicles, on average, how long have they been in here? These say 13 hours because it looks like the other vehicles that have been here just entered here recently. Department touch time average, so that is the average touch time for these vehicles being sitting in the department, so the number of hours divided by how much time is actually spent in the department. Then we have the overall days in shop measurable, which is letting us know of all of our vehicles, what is the average date for all the vehicles that are on the lot. So we have an arrival date but no delivery. So we have that as an overall measurable. And then an overall touch time shop average, how we're performing there, not just within the department. So really just these first 3 are just reflective of this department itself in comparison to the whole pie of start to finish. So we can see what part of our department is taking away from the overall, or impacting the overall. Again, time and department average, we saw that in the screen we just clicked on, the days in shop average. As we can see here, how long has those vehicles on average been in the department? Hopefully you don't see days on here, my data is just a little old. Average touch time in the vehicles currently department, again, hours based on the time in the department. Touch time average is the average touch time of the vehicles currently department. Lapse time is how long it's been since a vehicle was completed from that department. So we can see, if it's been over 7 hours, there's probably something wrong. Either they're completing vehicles, not moving them in Summit, which means we need to, reassess what's there and what's not. Or maybe somebody's just having a hard time that day. Again, we have our cycle time. So average cycle time for the vehicles completed today, for the week, for the month, right? So we can look at these and see some trends here. Maybe in this case where we're trending 4 days for week to date on prep, where in month to date we're more like 2. Maybe I have a guy out and that's just the impact he has. Or Maybe there's some other reason we need to dig into as to why this is taking longer, because that's going to cause some bottlenecks and stuff. Then finally, we have our counts for what's been completed for today, the number of vehicles, and any associated hours. So we can see the one vehicle in disassembly is 1.8 hours, which if we remember back to when I was showing us our labor percentages and labor types, is 20% of the body labor. So we can see what we're putting through on each department on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. Some other new things we put into this application are up here in our KPI header. So you notice we have an inventory count, and this inventory count is not the total of everything in all these departments. No, inventory count is actually data field driven, more specifically our arrival date and our pickup dates. So anything that's in inventory, which is in our shop, would have an arrival date but does not have a delivery date. The nice thing is, if you're using our production model in Summit, you can set up those dates to automatically be set through the production process. So here in our model, when our vehicle hits our pre-wash department, it sets our arrival date. When it gets down to body, it's setting my repair start date. And when it's setting my ready date, or when I hit my ready department, I'm setting my vehicle ready, gone, actual pickup delivery. And that'll be automated through Summit versus a manual process. Next metric we have in here is our overall days in shop average, which again, we saw this in the days in shop average screen, those metrics there. So we see how those mirror up. And then the overall touch time average for the shop. We're still doing keys to keys, which is your arrival date to delivery date, lead time, which is arrival date to repair start, production, which is repair start to vehicle ready, and then lag time, which is vehicle ready to vehicle pickup. Again, all of these dates can be easily set up to automatically fulfill in your production screen. We just have to figure out what department they need to be set up there. The new one we did put in here by popular request was keys to ready. So from when we get a keys to when the vehicle is ready to be picked up, what is that metric? So that's a new one we did add to Scoreboard for you, so you can figure out that particular metrics for you. Again, with the touch time clicker here, you click that, it converts any of those day counts into a touch time figure based on those days, taking the total number of hours for those ROs and dividing it by those days measurements. And finally, much like Terminal, Scoreboard does have the live updater built into it. So as new versions of Scoreboard are released, you will be prompted to download updates, auto-updating your shops. No more calls into support to get those new versions distributed. Scoreboard will be made available here shortly. You can send email requests to support@SummitCRS.com. We can put you on a waiting list for as soon as we have the go-ahead there. And then after which, of course, you can always just give us a call at the 208-947-1738 number or the 1-800 number if you're in Canada. All right, moving on to Engage now. We're going to talk about some of the new feature functionality that we've added to this application. Very excited about where this app has gone and some of the growth and some of the things opportunities we're going to be making available to you, our customers. The first thing I'm going to talk about is Engage is now what we call a progressive web application, meaning that it can be installed like an app on your device. We've also added some notifications, and I'm going to show you right now how that works. A progressive web app essentially just makes it so we can have a shortcut on the desktop that launches the application, much like it would be an app. It's still utilizing the internet. Users don't have to install this if they don't want to. They can still choose just to go to the regular web portal as we're doing here now. I'm simply just going to illustrate how you can install the app and also take advantage of our notifications. Notifications are going to be extremely helpful in alerting you when new messages came in. Meaning that Windows is actually going to prompt us with a notification, which we'll see here in a little bit down the bottom right, where it alerts us to any new messages that have come in. But I need to log in first before we can do any of that. So why I'm showing you the login here is because it's going to actually prompt me to install the application as well as Actually, my notifications are probably already turned on. Shoot.
Hey, Kevin, how does he assign a technician? I forgot how to do that.
Production screen,
I'm in the production screen.
or he can right click it too on the URL, but you see where it says like R and B and stuff, you can click on that,
Okay.
and then that'll bring it up, or when you're in the URL list, you can right click it, and I think it's under tools or something like that. Go to our list, yeah. And then right click it, and I think it's under tools.
Assign it, okay. Camera stuff. So that's here we go. You can click on these little ER and M. This is showing your refinished body and what is it, mechanical labor? And this is where you can assign people to teams as long as they're sort of as a team. So like the team body can refinish, one team body there. And then you set up finish. And you just hit save. Goes down, and then when you move them into here, go to chunk cost.
So what I'm going to do is just log in and show you this process of getting the app installed, as well as how to take advantage of the notifications. And if you're using Engage already, you might have already noticed this and have opted in, or maybe you said no, not knowing what it was. I'll also cover how we can get those opted in after the fact. Okay, so we can see as now I've logged in, I've got two prompts up on my screen. I have the one which wants me to install the Engage app, which I can simply hit install, and then we can see how that quickly changed me over to the application. Just a little bit more of a cleaner look, gives it its own feel, so it's separate from the browser drop down there. It just shows up as the Engage icon, this E here in our taskbar, which of course I don't have shared on the screen. But what that'll give them is the ability to go to their desktop, go to their desktop, and now we see that we have an Engage icon on here, pin it to my start bar, whatever I want to do to open the app up. Okay. The second thing it had there is to show my notifications. Now it's over here on the right, so I can allow or I can block. This is what I was talking about with the notifications on text messages. The notifications will only be sent to users who were part of that conversation. There is an opt-in, and I'll show you here in that in a bit, an opt-in to receive all notifications for any messages that are sent to you, or the default, of course, just the ones that user is involved in. So I'm going to go ahead and allow my notifications. So now I'm going to attempt to set a notification here. I'm just going to text my little demo customer here. That went off there, it's shown here, and there you go. You can see the notification popped up in that bottom right over there. It does, I think, around 200 characters, don't quote me on that, that it'll show there, and then it'll truncate the rest. So another thing we can do with the notification, when it pops up, we can actually click on that in Windows, and that'll just take me to the conversation and Engage, where I can see what we've sent there, and then start typing my reply back to him, or myself, as it were. Okay. So another thing on notifications, we were talking about making them, receiving all of them, not just the ones where you are involved in the conversation. So we can see in my conversations, I would only receive notifications for any new messages from these 4 customers, not all of them. Now I can opt in to get all of them very simply. What we do is, as an administrator, would have to go into the administration module here, go under users, select the user we want to receive all notifications for, so I'm going to choose myself here. And then I'm just going to go down to notify all and check or uncheck that. So I'm actually getting all of them already, as it were. And then modify to submit, and that user now is going to receive notification anytime any message is sent to a conversation. So manage that as you will. Oh yeah, so I was going to talk about how users can opt into let's see here, the notifications if they have turned them down. I'll show you both ways here. So I'm just going to log into the Engage web portal and we'll start there. Okay, perfect, I'm in here. So in Google Chrome, and I believe Edge does it the same way, not sure about Firefox, but there should be up in the URL either this locked icon or a little information icon, something up here. Might be on the right side in one of the other browsers, but in Chrome, we just view the site information by clicking right here. And then you'll see that we have the notifications. I already allowed these, but if I didn't, they would say blocked. All I have to do is move it to allow to opt in onto those notifications to start receiving those. Or I can set it back to ask if I want it to ask me each time I come here. The other way you would do it would be from the web app itself. So I'm going to bring that guy back up here. And that's up here in the top right, the three little ellipses. So we click on those, we see the same thing I was looking at before, app information. Click on that, again, same screen I see before. This will probably say blocked if you've blocked them. You can come in here and just hit allow, and those will now be sent to you on those notifications. To apply your settings, reload the site, reloads the app. Now it's got notifications turned on for us going forward here. Some other cool things with Engage. Let me bring up this page here real quick. Something that's really neat called the Engage widget. And if you go to SummitCRS.net currently, you can actually utilize that and send text messages to our support team. Down here in the bottom right, if you notice, we have our lovely little Engage widget icon. As a visitor to the site, I just have to click that. I can put in my name here. I can put in a number and a message and send that off, and that's going to put that message right to Engage for me, and we can see I got the notification, right? And it went to that same conversation that I was a part of before, right? And it came directly from the website. So now on a shop side of things, I now have a new conversation that's been started here with a name and a cell phone number, and I can go ahead and return the message to them. The widget is customizable to where we can make our own color scheme for it, which is I'm going to demonstrate here for you. Where the default is, of course, the Engage blue, but if you want to get fancy with it, you can see that we can put pretty much any color into here very easily to match the theme or styling of your existing website. The widget is very easy to install into existing websites. It's 2 simple lines of code that the web administrator puts in on the page you want it displayed on. Should be a very simple task. Okay, so the other thing I did want to let you know, which is hard to show in this environment, is Engage is now mobile friendly. That means you can go to EngageSMS.net on your iPhone or Android device, currently only supported by Google Chrome and Firefox. Sorry, Safari on Apple's does not work with our application. But when you go to the site, you will be prompted the same way we were here to install Engage as an application on your phone, or of course you can still use it through the Chrome or Firefox browser as well. I like having the icon on my mobile device, so I just install the app. Notifications, again, will be asked if you want to receive them, and then that'll put the notification, much like any other notification on your phone, where it appears on the Androids in the top there, letting you know the new message, formatted and same information that we saw with the Windows notification here. So now, not only do you have your cell phone for your personal calls, you now have your Engage messaging system right there as well, being able to notify whenever a text message comes in, being able to respond from those, all from the same Engage endpoint. So real powerful tool there. And when the contact comes into Engage from the widget, they'll actually come in with this default red avatar, signifying that they were a website lead, as well as
right here we can see Tom Jones was a test here. He was commented with website lead as well. Of course, we can change that within the Engage application itself as well. One other new thing we added to Engage was a new statistic, measurable, KPI, what have you, where we now produce what we're calling an engagement rate. The engagement rate takes the number of initiated conversations and divides it by the number of conversations where we had a response. So basically we're taking all the conversations active by any conversation that was two ways, or we have a shop employee sending a message and the customer replying. And then this is the rate that we're giving you with engagement. So kind of gives you an idea of how effective your text messaging is in contacting our customers. So far from the sites that we've been watching this number on, anything above 60 has been very good. We have some shops that get like a 70% response rate. So very good numbers what we're seeing out of that particular measurable. Okay, so that pretty much concludes the update for Engage for today. There is more that is going to be coming with this application as we continue to grow, continue to get feedback from our users. Engage, if you do not have it already, is available to all Summit users. There is an upfront charge of $500, and then it is the $99 retail per month on that guy. That gets you 1,000 outgoing messages and unlimited incoming messages. Your customer can send you as many messages as they want. It doesn't cost you. If you went over that 1,000 outgoing messages, there would be an additional $20 charge for another 1,000 messages. If you're interested in getting set up on Engage, of course, drop us an email at sales@summitcrs.net. Usually Engage setups are within about 48 hours. Engage, we do attempt to get you a phone number in your area, meaning your area code. Some of the area codes, as you're aware, have gotten full. There aren't numbers available, so we'll typically consult with you to see what's available and what might fit you best. Thanks for taking the time with me today. I appreciate everyone showing up here. And if you have any questions or want to get some of the applications that were featured today, feel free to drop us a line at support@summitcrs.com. Thank you and have yourself a great day.